Good morning. Welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Idaho Falls. My name is Arthur Kuhl, today's worship associate. On this first day of fall, come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. We have a few announcements this morning. One of them is really important. Okay. One of the important parts of securing the future of this congregation is the need for every one of our members and friends to offer financial support. To that effect, please note that there will be a party called Into the Black, cocktail party. That means we want the church to be in the black financially, and we want to wear black and white cocktail outfits. That will be on October 4. This is Friday, October 4th, at the church. It starts at 6 p.m. with appetizers, cocktails, beer. All this will be offered. And as I said before, we'd like you to observe a black and white dress code. Please respond by October 1st to Molly Brinkerhoff. Molly is in the back there. Via phone message or text, or sign up on the sheet provided under the blue painting back there. Another announcement here is, of course, that since the party is on the day of the regular UU Women's meeting, there will not be a women's group meeting in October. Another announcement is actually Jim Sathi talked to Dennis Jurgensen, a longtime member here, yesterday, and he is doing well. Good to know. Thank you. And please note that if you have joys, concerns, sorrows, and milestones that affected your life in the recent past, and that you would like to share with the congregation, you can do so by filling out one of the slips of paper at the entrance where Catherine is sitting. Before we move into the formal start of our service, let us meet and greet our pew neighbors. Take the time to meet someone you have not met before, and please return to your seat at the sound of the chime. Thank you. I invite you now to find a comfortable position in your seat, to focus on quieting your mind, and to enter into the spirit of worship. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. I will now ring the peace bowl 3 times. Please join me in reading the Church's Covenant, which is printed in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this community, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We will now light the flaming chalice, symbol of our faith, to illumine this day with words by Brian Lee. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us.
Good morning. Our call to worship this morning is the poem Autumn Prayer by Edward Hayes. O sacred season of autumn, be my teacher, for I wish to learn the virtue of contentment. As I gaze upon your full-colored beauty, I sense all about you and at homeness with your amber riches. You are the season of retirement, of full barns and harvested fields. The cycle of growth has ceased, and the busy work of giving life is now completed. I sense in you no regrets. You've lived a full life. I live in a society that is ever restless, always eager for more mountains to climb, seeking happiness through more and more possessions. As a child of my culture, I am seldom truly at peace with what I have. Teach me to take stock of what I have given and received. May I know that it's enough, that my striving can cease in the abundance of life's grace. May I know the contentment that allows the totality of my energies to come to full flower. May I know that, like you, I am rich beyond measure. As you, O autumn, take pleasure in your great bounty, let me also take delight in the abundance of the simple things in life, which are the true source of joy. With a golden glow of peaceful contentment, may I truly appreciate this autumn day. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, number 52, In Sweet Fields of Autumn.
In sweet fields of autumn, the gold rain is falling, the white clouds drift lonely, and wild swan is calling. Alas, for
Good morning. Today I'm going to share the story of why the autumn leaves are red. This is a Native American legend from Canada. So, long ago, no one but animals lived upon the earth, and sometimes they would hold great councils. The bear would be there, the bear, with his sharp claws and his shiny coat and his big, big growl, and the deer who was so proud of his antlers, for they came out of his head like trees. And all the animals and all the birds would be present at the great council. Little Turtle would go there too. She was so small that she did not like to speak to anyone, but she often wished, "Oh, if only I could do some good deed. What could such a little creature as I do? Anyway," she thought, "I'll be on the watch, and it may be that sometime there will be a chance for me to do something for my people." Little Turtle never forgot about that good deed she had planned to perform. One day, the opportunity came to her. She was at the council, and the animals were saying, "It is so dark here. We have only the snow light to see by. It's gloomy, too. Couldn't we make a light and place it up in Skyland?" they asked. Little Turtle said, "Please let me go up to Skyland. I'm sure I can make a light shine up there." They said that she might go, and they called a dark cloud to carry Little Turtle there. Dark Cloud came. Little Turtle saw that thunder and lightning were in Dark Cloud, and when she reached the Skyland, she made the sun from the lightning and placed him in the sky. The sun could not move because he had no life, and all the world underneath was too hot to live upon. "Oh, what shall we do? What shall we do?" the animals asked one another. "We must give the sun life and spirit, and then he will move about the sky." So they gave him life and spirit, and indeed he moved about the sky. Mud Turtle dug a hole through the earth for the sun to travel through. Little Turtle made a wife for him out of some of the lightning from Dark Cloud, and she was the moon. Their little children were the stars that played all over Skyland. And all this time, Little Turtle was taking care of Skyland. The animals below called her "She Who Takes Care of Skyland." And she was very happy because she was doing her good deed. Some of the animals became jealous of Little Turtle, especially the deer, who was so proud of his antlers. One day, Deer said to Rainbow, "Rainbow, please take me up to Skyland where Little Turtle lives." Now, Rainbow did not know whether it would be quite right to take Deer up to Little Turtle's house, but he said, "In the winter, when I rest upon the big mountain by the lake, then I will take you." This made the deer glad. He did not tell anyone about the promise of Rainbow. All winter long, he waited and watched near Big Mountain for Rainbow to come. But Rainbow did not come to him. In the spring, one day, Deer saw Rainbow beside the lake. "Rainbow," he asked, "why did you not keep your promise to me?" Rainbow made him another promise. "Come to me by the lake when you see me in the thick fog," he said. Deer kept this promise a secret too, because he hoped to go to Skyland alone. Day after day, he waited beside the lake. One day, when the thick fog was rising from the lake, Deer saw the beautiful Rainbow. Rainbow made an arch from the lake to the big mountain. Then a shining light fell about Deer, and he saw a straight path shining with all the colors of the rainbow. It led through a great forest. Follow the beautiful path through the great forest, Rainbow said. The deer entered the shining pathway, and it led him straight to the house of Little Turtle in Skyland. And the deer went about Skyland everywhere. When the great council met, Deer was not there. Deer has not come to the council. Where is the deer? They asked. Hawk flew about the air everywhere and could not find Deer in the air. Wolf searched the deep woods and could not find Deer in the forests. When Dark Cloud brought Little Turtle to the council, Little Turtle told them how Rainbow had made a path for Deer to climb to Skyland. There it is now, said Little Turtle. And the animals looked over the lake, and there they saw a beautiful pathway. They'd never seen it before. Why did Deer not wait for us? All of us should have gone to Skyland together, they said. Now, Brown Bear was determined to follow that pathway the very next time he should see it. One day, when he was all alone near the lake, he saw the shining path that led through the great forest. Soon, he found himself in Skyland. The first person he met was Deer. Why did you leave us? Why did you go to the land of Little Turtle without us? Why did you not wait for us? He asked the deer. The deer shook his antlers angrily. What right have you to question me? No one but the wolf may question why I came. I will kill you for your impertinence. The deer arched his neck. He poised his antlered head. His eyes blazed with fury. The bear was not afraid. Bear stood up. His claws were sharp and strong. His hoarse growls sounded all over Skyland. And the battle of the deer and the bear shook Skyland. The animals looked up from the earth. Who will go? Who will go to Skyland and forbid the deer to fight? I will go, said the wolf. I can run faster than anyone. So the wolf ran along the shining pathway, and in a little while he had reached the place of the battle. Wolf made Deer stop fighting. Deer's antlers were covered with blood, and when he shook them, great drops fell down through the air and splashed against all the leaves of the forest, and the leaves became a beautiful red. So in the autumn, when you see the leaves turning red, you may know that it is because in the long ago, the deer and the bear fought a great battle in Skyland and in the land of Little Turtle, who was doing her good deed. As I see no children, we will proceed to joys and concerns.
Thank you. Well, Victoria has a joy. On Wednesday afternoon, she flew to Ketchikan to attend the celebration of life for her friend Larry. It was word of mouth, but 30 people attended and about 20 spoke. Men in their 20s spoke, saying that how Larry had changed their lives as he enriched yours, Victoria. Right. Judy has a joy. She had a visit with her daughter Friday and Saturday. Roby has a joy too. My joy is the orthopedist says no hip replacement. Yoo-hoo. And I have a joy. Yesterday we attended the celebrations downtown Idaho Falls, It was wonderful to see all the people, the kids, going around. So that is my joy. We light one last candle to lift up these joys and concerns, as well as the ones that remain in the silence of our heart.
Well, this morning, instead of our usual reading, I have a short video which hopefully will show on the internet, if cross our fingers. And this is about the temple in Chichen Itza and the phenomenon that happens on the equinoxes each year. So enjoy, hopefully, and I'll see you afterward. An offering to support the mission of this church will now be given and gratefully received. Years ago, when COVID prevented us from meeting in person, I gave an earlier version of this sermon on the eve of the fall equinox. Now, after 3 more trips around the sun, I thought it would be fun to revisit this topic since this Sunday happens to fall on the fall equinox. And to be precise, here in Idaho, the fall equinox occurred just a few hours ago at 6:44 a.m. this morning. So, happy fall. The fall equinox is one of the 4 natural solar holidays that we can observe, along with the summer and winter solstice and the spring equinox. The summer and winter solstices occur on the longest and shortest day of the year, respectively, and as the name suggests, from the Latin words equi, which means equal, and nox, which means night, the 2 equinoxes occur at the midpoints between the solstices when the day and night are approximately the same length. It varies depending on where you are and several other factors, so it is not exactly equal in most places. These annual solar milestones have been important religious holidays for many cultures since ancient times, but the reason we even have the yearly cycle of seasons in the first place is much, much older. About 4.5 billion years ago, when our Earth was very young, the space around the sun was a lot more crowded with large and small chunks of rock and dust, some of which were large enough to be called protoplanets. These were chunks the size of Mars that ultimately did not survive to become planets on their own. During this period that astronomers call the late heavy bombardment, the planets we see today experienced a series of collisions, typically swallowing up the smaller objects, but occasionally colliding in cataclysmic splendor. Because of the similar composition of moon rocks brought back from the Apollo missions to rocks on Earth, it is believed that one such collision the Earth experienced involved a Mars-sized protoplanet that has been given the name Theia. Theia collided with the Earth at an oblique angle, ejecting the matter which would coalesce to form our moon and tilting the Earth's axis of rotation relative to the orbital plane. You would not have wanted to be on Earth when this happened. And if you're up on your Greek mythology, you will recognize that Theia was the Titan who gave birth to the moon goddess Selene, hence the name. We can only imagine what this event might have looked like, or perhaps Hollywood CGI artists could create an approximation. But one thing we can be certain about is that we should offer a prayer of thanksgiving for Thea's spectacular misfortune. For were it not for this cosmic event billions of years ago, there would be no seasons on Earth, and life here may never have evolved. And even if life had evolved, it is doubtful we would have the wonderful diversity we see today, including our own human presence in the web of life. As the neuroscientist Russell Foster writes in his book Seasons of Life, the boom and bust of the seasons has produced much more variation in animal and plant life, resulting in much more complex ecosystems. Without seasons, there would be fewer species with much less diversity in form and behavior. It is also possible that life would not exist at all. As we've seen it, as we have a huge diversity of life forms, there has always been some form of life that has been able to bounce back after major extinction events. Foster also notes that the seasons have helped shape human history as well. In Europe, for example, the seasons created variation in the availability of resources and the need for trade, which led to war to control the trade. This, too, is a legacy of these ancient celestial collisions. As our human ancestors moved north out of Africa into Europe, Asia, and ultimately into the Americas, understanding the seasons became increasingly important. Survival depended on understanding the annual cycles and behaviors of wildlife and when plants were ready to be gathered. Then, about 10,000 years ago, and possibly as early as 23,000 years ago, came the development of agriculture, which meant the domestication of plants and animals and the establishment of more permanent settlements. And this required an even greater understanding of the cycle of seasons. Knowing the optimal time to plant crops could mean the difference between life and death. Ancient peoples were keen observers of the heavens, and in cultures around the world, the annual cycle of the sun was observed and noted, with four main events dividing the year easy to mark: the summer and winter solstices, and the fall and spring equinoxes. In the northern hemisphere, the spring equinox marks the end of winter and the beginning of the time to plant crops. And the fall equinox marks the end of summer and the time of the harvest. In the southern hemisphere, these are, of course, reversed. And since the length of night and day varies more dramatically through the year, the further you travel toward the poles, away from the equator, the exact time of the equinoxes also varies. Given their importance to human activities, it seems only natural that religious festivals and rituals would emerge to celebrate these solar milestones among different cultures and belief systems. No matter how elaborate the spiritual cosmology of a culture became through human creativity, we have always shared the same earth. And she has continued her annual journey around the sun with clockwork regularity. Over the course of thousands of years, temples, hinges, and other structures were built to create sacred locations for celebrating the seasons, based on precise astronomical observations. Often the knowledge about the heavens would be closely held by priestly astronomer class, but when it became time for the rituals and festivals, it was common for the whole tribe to participate. Crowds would anxiously wait for the sun to rise and shine precisely on stone or wooden markers or through openings in a sacred structure. Even today, there is something magical about such events, though most of us no longer embrace the spiritual cosmology associated with these sacred sites. It is still common for thousands of people to travel to places like Chichen Itza on the equinox to watch the sunlight serpent Kukulkan descend the Great Pyramid, or to gather at Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plain in England to watch the sunrise. And for more intrepid travelers, in the Incan city of Machu Picchu in Peru, there's a stone pillar called Intihuatana, which means the place where the sun gets tied. There on the equinoxes, the sun's shadow cast by a pillar disappears. And these are just a few examples of many such sacred sites around the world. The precise architecture of these ancient sites is truly amazing. And I can only imagine the mystical power that ancient peoples felt watching the magic during these celestial events. Though the fall equinox generally marks the time of harvest, depending on the particular location of a people and the types of crops they farmed, the timing of the harvest and associated festivals could vary somewhat, and you even see some harvest festivals throughout the summer. In North America, for example, many Native American tribes continue to celebrate the green corn ceremony in early summer. And the ancient European pagan holiday, Lammas Day, also known as Loaf Mass Day, is observed on August 1st. Like many old pagan holidays, Lammas has been appropriated into a Christian holy day, and the special loaves of bread baked to honor the first fruits of the harvest are now used by Roman Catholics as part of a communion ritual. For Jews, the festival of Sukkot is celebrated in September or sometimes October, being a movable holiday based on a lunar calendar like Easter. This year, the 7-day festival begins on October 16th. Sukkot is both a harvest festival to celebrate the bounty of God's providence in the present, and a commemoration of his protection during the Exodus. Because of the dual meaning of the holiday, in the Torah, it is referred to by two names, Chag HaAsif, which means Festival of Ingathering or Harvest Festival, and Chag HaSukkot, which means the Festival of Booths. Its origins are likely much older than Judaism itself, since it shares several characteristics with older Canaanite harvest festivals. Jewish families celebrate this holiday by constructing a small temporary shelter or booth called a sukkah near their home, usually from natural materials such as branches and palm fronds. In their sukkah, they share meals together during the 7 days of the holiday. These temporary shelters symbolize the improvised dwellings that the Jewish people lived in as they wandered the Sinai according to the Exodus story. This past week, on Wednesday, was also the time of the so-called harvest moon, made famous in song, which, as the name suggests, is also associated with the harvest season. The harvest moon is the full moon closest to the fall equinox, and for a few days at this time of year, moonrise begins shortly after sunset, giving farmers a few additional hours of light for gathering the harvest. There are many other harvest festivals that celebrate the bounty of the earth throughout the summer and fall, and they can be fun festivals that bring us joy or deeply religious occasions, or often it can be a combination of both. In Magione, Italy, for example, there's the annual Olivigando festival in November, which celebrates the olive harvest, something locals have been doing for thousands of years, long before Christianity. And it now often coincides with the feast day of Saint Clement, who is venerated as the fourth Pope, Clement I. Meanwhile, in America, there are county and state fairs across the land, which often include livestock and agriculture contests. And of course, at the end of November, we have the Thanksgiving holiday, which commemorates an impromptu sharing of a harvest feast between the Pilgrims and the native Wampanoag people. Although the story of the first Thanksgiving and the relationship between the Pilgrims and their native neighbors has become mythically sanitized since those fall days in 1621, we have records of this harvest feast and should appreciate just how thankful the pilgrims would have been. Since landing a year earlier, many pilgrims had succumbed to starvation and disease, so it is easy to imagine that the bounty of the first successful harvest and the wild game and seafood of the feast would have made for a thankful and joyous occasion indeed. Some festivals around the fall equinox are more spiritual in nature and often celebrate the battle between the light and the dark, between the warmth of summer and the cold of winter, or even cosmic battles of our imagination brought down to earth for human comprehension. Or others are primarily celebrations of the food the earth, God, or the gods provides for our sustenance. The common thread, which may not even occur to many during the revelry of the moment, is that all of these festivals are ultimately a celebration of our inextricable connection to the earth and the sun and our utter dependence on both for life. They also remind us about our own cycle of life from birth to death. Our ancient ancestors quickly recognized the importance of the seasons and the solar calendar. And though our religious traditions have evolved to include lots of holidays to commemorate important figures and events, often intentionally timed to coincide with the more ancient solar holidays, it seems to me that the natural solar holidays would be something that we Unitarian Universalists should embrace no matter what theological or spiritual path we are on. Whether our spirituality is rooted in religious naturalism, some form of neo-paganism, or something more traditional, our affirmation of the interdependent web of existence permeates our faith. Climate change and other environmental challenges are awakening humanity once again to the reality of our dependence on the earth and how fragile our agriculture can be in the face of droughts, floods, and other natural disasters. So reconnecting with the cycles of life throughout the year by celebrating the solar holidays can help us deepen our appreciation of the earth-human relationship and even have a little fun in the process. We can use these holidays as a time to express our gratitude for life and reflect on our own journey. In the fall, we can acknowledge the quieting of the season and allow ourselves time for rest, reminding ourselves that each trip around the sun is a blessing. And whenever the weather and our health cooperate, it is great to get outdoors and celebrate the solstices and equinoxes like countless generations before us. Marty and I were camping in West Yellowstone for a few days this week, and we enjoyed a nice campfire on a chilly night to mark the turn of the season and to honor the memory of our daughter. It was something we've often done at this time of year. Maybe our church can sponsor a bonfire sometime, sing songs in the night, greet the dawn, or just share a festive meal to enjoy the fruits of the harvest. It would be great if someday someone would build a Stonehenge on the Snake River Plain, and we could all gather there. But in the meantime, waking early to watch the sunrise over the Tetons is a pretty good substitute. There are also several Idaho Spud Days to choose from, and even Rexburg's Oktoberfest. So on this fall equinox, being mindful of the harvest and our relationship with earth, I want to close with an old Unitarian table grace that we have often used in our family. It is one that you can find in the book Earth Prayers, and saying something like this at meals is a practice I would recommend year-round. It is too easy these days to eat without awareness of the cycles of life. The food which we are about to eat is earth, water, and sun, compounded through the alchemy of many plants. Therefore, earth, water, and sun will become part of us. This food is also the fruit of the labor of many beings and creatures. We are grateful for it. May it give us strength, health, joy, and may it increase our love. Amen. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit once again and join in singing our closing hymn, number 69, Give Thanks.
Give thanks for the corn and the wheat that are reaped, for labor well done, and for barns that are heaped, for the sun and the dew and the sweet honeycomb, for the rose and the song and the harvest brought home. Give thanks for the mills and the farms of our land, for craft and the strength in the work of our hands, for the beauty our artists and poets have wrought, for the hope and affection our friendships have brought. Give thanks for the homes that with kindness are blessed, for seasons of plenty and well-deserved rest, for our country extending from sea unto sea, for ways that have made it a land for the free.
Our closing words of the poem Harvest by John Charles McNeill. Cows in the stall and sheep in the fold, clouds in the west, deep crimson and gold, a heron's far flight to a roost somewhere, the twitter of kildees keen the air, the noise of a wagon that jolts through the gloom on the last load home. There are lights in the windows, a blue spire of smoke climbs from the grange grove of elm and oak, the smell of the earth, where the night pours to her its dewy libation, it's sweeter than myrrh. And an increase to toil is the smell of the loam on the last load home.
Please join me in reading the words for the extinguishing of our chalice flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.